Greetings, my beautiful cuddlebugs, and welcome to Ramblings of a Book Dragon, where we dive into the warmth of good books and unravel stories that feel like a literary hug. I'm Allie, your host, and I'm thrilled to embark on another cozy adventure with you. So grab a cup of your favorite beverage, snuggle into your cozy reading nook, and let's begin. But before we do, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe so that you won't miss a single podcast episode. I really value your feedback and book recommendations. Now let's begin. Today I'm reviewing The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley and performed by a cast of Gary Furlong, Al Newlands, Maura Sims, Imogen Church, and Moira Kirk. We're following a group of friends who are going to a fancy-schmancy hunting lodge in Scotland for New Year's. And this is something that they've been doing every year ever since college, where they would meet up at a different place every year for New Year's. And it's a group of couples. They met while they were in Oxford, and they were basically just together because they were friends from college, from their university days. And this year's pick was by Emma. She is the most recent addition to the group because she's dating one of the guys that's in the group. So she's really wanting to try to prove her worth. And at first everything is going great. It's kind of a little tense, but it's the whole fact that they're best friends that are here on this part. They're here for this party, and it's the whole trying to be on best terms. But we know that there is a body, because the thing with Lucy Foley books that can either be a positive or a negative depending on the way you look at it is, once you read one of her books, you do notice a pattern to the writing style, which I think can be good because you can kind of guess. And this is the second time I'm reading this book too. So it was interesting to me to kind of see, now that I know all of the details, going back and seeing what all was going on and the little hints that she was giving throughout the book that you're not necessarily going to pick up the first time reading it, which I think is one of the positives. Like, okay, you know the overall pattern, but that's not going to take away from the enjoyment of the book, so long as you're not reading them all at once. It's the type of book series of books that you need to spread out by her. But I've read a couple of her books and I've enjoyed them all because they're all it's a murder mystery, and there's usually a group of friends that are at an event and something goes horribly wrong. And usually there's maybe one or two characters that are generally unlikable. So you can kind of guess about who it is that may potentially die, but the who killed is what's always interesting about these books. So in this situation also, we have two outside perspectives who run the lodge, and they both are kind of running away from their own past. And it's just interesting with them because there's Heather and Doug, and they both took this job and they're running away from their past, as I said. And so it's interesting with seeing them, and they're in the present tense and going into the past, and just kind of learning about all the events that transpired leading up to New Year's Day, 2 days later, etc., when the death occurred. And we learn more about everyone and how they all connected to each other. And Miranda seems to be the leader of the group, the queen bee, and because she was kind of the favorite to become a very powerful person in the business world, except then she wound up getting married and she basically became a stay-at-home wife and lost the wind from her sails. And then there was her best friend Katie, who she had met from way back when, and Katie is the singleton of the group, and Katie was also kind of pulling away from Miranda. And I'm not going to spoil who died. I mean, you can guess based on what I'm going to say probably about who died, but I'm not going to spoil who killed whom and what the motives were, because I found it to be very interesting. Because this is it's more psychological, and it was just interesting with the way that we're inside each of the characters' heads, because each chapter is from a character's perspective. So it was interesting because in a way the character was an unreliable narrator, because we just know, okay, these are the thoughts in the present tense. But you kind of get these little hints that something may not necessarily be right, but you don't realize the full depth of that unrightness until the end, when the actual, okay, this is why this happened. This is how this all happened. And then we also have, and Miranda, she's the posh one, as I said. She's a bit of a cow. She's very controlling in the actions. She's a bit of a bitch because she will spoil things. Her best friend, their friend Nick. They met him in Oxford, and he was going to come out to his parents as gay, and he had told Katie. And Katie, being drunk, told Miranda. And Miranda, she wanted to take away this moment from Nick. We don't know why, but she wanted to take it away from him. And so she told his parents. And it's just like, really? Really? And Beau is the American, so he's kind of new. But Emma is the most recent newbie. And she cooks. And she's just very I want Miranda. I want the group to like me. I want Miranda to like me. I want everyone to accept me. This is all going fantastic. This is all going great. This is all going to be a perfect event, which is a situation. And Mark is the one that Emma is dating, and Mark has lusted after Miranda ever since her Oxford days, and it's just was kind of gross with that, because he was just a bit of we find out that Miranda has had a stalker ever since their Oxford days. And so we're kind of wondering, okay, who's the stalker? And at first we're thinking, okay, it's probably Mark, because of how much he's basically been obsessed with her. And at one point, even in the time of the party, because they got drunk and they took some pills. And so there is drug use in this book, and that's something that Lucy Foley seems to like to include, is the use of drugs and the use of alcohol as part of all this. They're bright young things. It's the wealthy elite being brought down a couple pegs. That seems to be a lot of what's going on in the book. And then Miranda is married to Julian, and Julian was friends with Mark, and Miranda and Julian made sense from their Oxford days. So we're learning all of this from the flashbacks of learning when they're talking about all their time together, and as they're at the lodge and they're looking at the loch and everything, and it's just all very interesting with them and just kind of their whole situation. And then there's also Samira, and Samira became roommates with Katie and Miranda in college, and Samira was a bit of a party girl herself, and so Samira had a baby, so Miranda has kind of felt like Samira has kind of been rubbing it in her face, because Miranda was wanting a baby, but then there's also the whole, okay, maybe Miranda's wanting a baby because everyone else has babies, so it's just a lot going on. And then we have a couple of other situations that are going on in the book as well, and a couple of things where, upon reading it again, I see what she was doing with it. There was this whole Highland killer situation where they're okay, we know that there is a serial killer out there, and so building up the atmosphere, the tenseness of knowing, okay, we're alone in the Scottish Highlands, and if there's a snowstorm, we're separated from everyone else, which, but some of it, definitely red herrings that kind of were just did we need this? And that's my whole thing with it. And then we learn more about Doug and Heather and why it is that they're there. And Doug was a Marine, and Miranda, as part of her cattiness, is oh, he's so hot, and she even tries to seduce him when he's drunk, and it's just her whole I can get anyone that I want situation. And Like there's a couple of things that were a little confusing to me reading this book because like Doug has a tendency of blacking out. He goes into a fugue state. And near the end of the book, when we're kind of learning about who died, we've learned all this other information about the book, about the characters, and he goes into this fugue state, but it's like when he blacks out, he doesn't know what happened. He has no idea what the situation was, but he blacked out right in front of Miranda. And we don't know what happened. And I kind of wish, and maybe it was kind of explained a little bit, but not really. It's like, ooh, this is kind of, it felt like a bit of a hole. And maybe, that's the point, is he doesn't even remember. But then we're also in Miranda's head. Like there's plenty of times where we're in Miranda's head. So it's like, why couldn't we have at least seen her side of that? But obviously not. No, that would make too much sense. So, but anyway, so leading up to it, they're all like, everything's starting out well, but then slowly all the secrets are coming out, the tenseness is rising, and we learn that Samira's husband had actually slept with Miranda back in college and all this stuff. And I kind of wish we had a little bit more interactions with Samira and a little bit more information. Is like, it felt like everyone had secrets and dirt, and I guess like, okay, she has a baby, like whatever, and not everyone. But I really like the fact that at least in this book, most of the characters were pretty likable. But it kind of was like, why are they all friends with these two people, with Miranda? It's like, why? Like once we learn what we learn, like Miranda and Julian's, like they both seem kind of unlikable people, and especially since we find out that Katie had gotten drunk because she's a lawyer, and it sounded like she had kind of been distancing herself a little bit more from Miranda anyway. And basically the whole situation was that she had kept herself with these friends because they were friends from university, but she was kind of wanting to like branch out. Like she was tired of being seen as the same old Katie from university, because like she's now a hotshot lawyer. She is looking to become a partner. Like she isn't just the same Katie from university, but when she's with this group, she reverts back to who she was back in university, which was interesting to think about as well. Like, okay, yeah, we get back to how we were when we were friends. Like that is a thing that happens, and that's kind of like how it is with this entire group. And it seemed like it was Miranda that was the glue that was holding everyone together, and we're slowly learning all these different secrets, and some of them are kind of just like, okay, whatever. Like the fact that Samira's husband, I didn't write down his name and I forgot, slept with Miranda when she was first getting together with Julian, and then Miranda had sent Katie to this party when she was going to her grandma's, and she had gotten into the drugs, and then she had slept with someone, and it turned out that she had slept with Julian, but she didn't know it. And then when she and Julian slept together again, I was a little bit confused about how often they were having sex together. Like it got to the point where she was pregnant and Julian didn't know it until it kind of came out, because like she was far enough along to have a bit of a pregnancy. Like she was starting to show a little bit, but she was able to hide it enough. And then Miranda got pissed, which I don't blame her. But Miranda was also being a bit of a cow to them all anyway, to show like, hey, I have the power here. So the fact that Katie was like, this is so stupid. So it just was interesting, like seeing all this build up, seeing all this tension. But I really like the fact that, like, okay, we have all these different thoughts. We have all this stuff that's going on. And then to find out the killer and the lengths that the killer was going to, we get these hints. And I'm not going to say who did it, but we get these little hints of it. And the way that they did it was like, like we know that there's something funky going on, especially with Miranda, because she's missing a couple of things. She has a stalker. Like there's all this other stuff that's going on. And it seemed like there's a couple of situations that were developing at the lodge, but we don't really know who the stalker is. And then when we find out who the stalker is, we finally get the big reveal. But the big reveal is told to us, the audience. But it was interesting because like in Miranda's head are like, okay, something's not right here, and I don't know what is going on. I don't know why this doesn't sound right, but something isn't right here. And so but because she was drunk at the time that as a certain statement was made, like it didn't quite click. And so it slowly came together, like what happened. And so then we got our nice big villain monologue, and we learn about how the death happened and everything. And so, but what I really liked about this book is that there was the potential for romantic developments for two characters at the very end of the book. And we also get this whole like, okay, especially for Katie, because she's able to kind of just like, okay, because we're finally free of all this baggage from college, I can now be friends with my peers, with other attorneys, and who knows, like she's going to give birth any time now to a little baby girl. So and Julian was a complete dipshit, because he was like, and when Miranda found out about the pregnancy, he was like, oh, Katie seduced me, blah blah blah. Like he was just throwing her completely under the bus. And I felt bad for Katie because, like, I mean, yeah, it takes two to tango. Like, come on, dude. And like, is it really such a bad thing to but she felt bad for what had happened and everything. But she was like, okay, I can now move forward, make friends, let's go out and see new things. I no longer have to go to any of these parties anymore. Like she was just like, she didn't even want to come, but she had agreed already. And who knows, there may be potential romance in the future. And then we also had some additional bits of drama, because the part of the thing with this Highland Loch situation was that there was all the stories about how they would bring about like they would make sure that there was. We learned that there was a smuggling case going on, and it was even a modern one, not even just the historical smuggling, but we had a modern situation, and it was good. It was an interesting little bit of side information for our two characters that works there, that they figured all that stuff out, and so the police were able to get that figured out. But it's like, did we need all of it? It's like, okay, that works. Like it was a good little bit of side information that was very interesting. And plus, there may potentially be a bit of romance between Heather and Doug. It's like, yay, that made me happy. But yes, like I said, I'm not going to share who did it, but I did like the big reveal with that. And especially since, I mean, I felt like you kind of felt bad for her, but then it was like, oh no, when the whole reveals happens, like, okay, like I kind of wish we had a little bit more hints. Like the hints were minute. Like reading back now, I see that there were hints, but when you're just reading it, the red herrings were glaringly in your face of what they were, so that when the true reveal happened, I was like, okay, this was kind of hidden a little bit, and it may have been nice if there was a little bit more obviousness of what was going on. But I appreciated the subtlety of what was going on and what that big reveal was. Like, it wasn't a planned situation. It was an accident, but the accident was because of a bigger problem that was really a lot. I mean, just like, I'm not saying that the person who died deserved it. obviously, but she was a bit of a cow. That's all I'm going to say. I'm excited for the Christmas season and continuing to read other cozy, wintry books. I have a couple other I do have another book that I am reading that is not very wintry or Christmassy, but I do have two I've actually planned for the month of Christmas. So for December, and I'm excited to read them. I have another murder mystery and I have a cozy romance. But they both sound like they're going to be a lot of fun, and I'm actually going to get to my reading goal. It was a little bit of okay, am I going to actually get there or not? But I was planning on reading 50 books, and I think I'm going to get to 50 or maybe even 51. Let's see if the odds are in my favor or not. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I will catch you next time. Goodbye.